Understanding narcissistic abuse, dynamics, impact, and recovery. Narcissistic abuse is a form of psychological and emotional manipulation that can have devastating effects on an individual's sense of self, mental health, and overall well-being. Perpetrated by individuals with narcissistic traits or narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, this type of abuse often involves a pattern of behaviors designed to control, belittle, and exploit the victim. Understanding the dynamics of narcissistic abuse is crucial for recognizing its signs, seeking help, and beginning the journey toward healing. What is narcissistic abuse? Narcissistic abuse refers to the emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical harm inflicted by someone exhibiting narcissistic behaviors. Narcissism, in this context, is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy, and a deep need for admiration. Individuals with NPD often manipulate others to maintain their self-image and sense of superiority. The abuse typically manifests in various forms, including gaslighting, manipulating someone into questioning their reality or sanity; love bombing, overwhelming someone with affection and attention to gain control; devaluation, undermining the victim's self-worth through criticism and belittlement; discarding, abruptly ending the relationship or withdrawing affection once control is established; projection, attributing their own negative behaviors or feelings onto the victim. These tactics create an environment where the victim feels confused, isolated, and dependent on the abuser. Recognizing the signs of narcissistic abuse. Identifying narcissistic abuse can be challenging, especially because the abuser often presents a charming and charismatic facade. However, certain signs can indicate the presence of narcissistic abuse. Constant criticism, regularly belittling or demeaning the victim. Emotional roller coaster, experiencing extreme highs and lows in the relationship. Isolation, the abuser discourages or prevents the victim from maintaining relationships with friends and family. Manipulation, using guilt, shame, or fear to control the victim's actions. Lack of accountability, refusing to take responsibility for their actions and blaming the victim instead. Hoovering, attempting to suck the victim back into the relationship after a period of distance. Victims often feel like they're walking on eggshells, never knowing what will trigger the abuser's wrath or withdrawal. The psychological impact of narcissistic abuse. The effects of narcissistic abuse can be profound and long-lasting. Victims often experience low self-esteem, constant belittlement and criticism erode self-worth. Anxiety and depression. The unpredictable nature of the relationship leads to chronic stress and emotional turmoil. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Symptoms include flashbacks, nightmares, and hypervigilance. Cognitive dissonance, struggling to reconcile the abuser's loving moments with their abusive behavior. Emotional numbness, disconnecting from emotions as a coping mechanism. Over time, these psychological effects can impair the victim's ability to function in daily life and form healthy relationships. Why do victims stay? Understanding why victims remain in abusive relationships is complex. Several factors contribute to this phenomenon. Trauma bonding. The intermittent reinforcement of affection and abuse creates a strong emotional attachment. Fear of retaliation, harm, or further manipulation can keep victims trapped. Hope, believing the abuser will change or that the relationship will improve. Isolation, lack of support systems makes it difficult to leave. Financial dependence, economic factors can make leaving seem impossible. These factors create a cycle of abuse that is difficult to break without intervention and support. The narcissistic abuse cycle. The cycle of narcissistic abuse typically follows a predictable pattern. Idealization. The abuser showers the victim with affection and admiration, creating a sense of euphoria. Devaluation. The abuser begins to belittle and criticize the victim, undermining their self-worth. Discard. The abuser withdraws affection or ends the relationship abruptly, leaving the victim confused and hurt. Hoovering. The abuser attempts to re-enter the victim's life, often using guilt or promises of change. This cycle can repeat indefinitely, leading to prolonged emotional and psychological damage. Recovery from narcissistic abuse. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a challenging but achievable process. Key steps in recovery include acknowledgement and validation. Recognizing that the abuse occurred and acknowledging its impact is the first step toward healing. Victims often feel gaslighted or doubt their experiences, so validation from trusted individuals or professionals is crucial. Establishing boundaries. Learning to set and maintain healthy boundaries is essential. This may involve limiting or cutting off contact with the abuser and protecting oneself from further manipulation. Seeking professional help. Therapy, particularly trauma-informed therapy, can help victims process their experiences and develop coping strategies. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, are commonly used approaches. Building a support network. Connecting with others who understand the experience can provide validation and encouragement. Support groups, both in person and online, can be invaluable. Self-care and self-compassion. Engaging in activities that promote physical and emotional well-being can aid in recovery. Practicing self-compassion and being patient with oneself are vital components of healing. The role of society and support systems. Society plays a significant role in addressing narcissistic abuse. Increasing awareness and understanding can lead to better support for victims. This includes education, teaching individuals about the signs and dynamics of narcissistic abuse. Support services, providing accessible resources such as counseling, hotlines, and shelters. Legal protections, enforcing laws that protect victims of emotional and psychological abuse. By fostering a supportive environment, society can help victims of narcissistic abuse reclaim their lives and heal from their trauma. Conclusion: narcissistic abuse is a complex and insidious form of manipulation that can have lasting effects on victims. Recognizing the signs, understanding the dynamics, and seeking appropriate support are crucial steps in the healing process. With time, education, and support, individuals can recover from narcissistic abuse and rebuild their lives. If you or someone you know is experiencing narcissistic abuse, it is important to seek help from professionals and trusted individuals to begin the journey toward healing and empowerment. Resources for support. If you or someone you know is experiencing narcissistic abuse, consider reaching out to the following resources. National Domestic Violence Hotline, https://www.thehotline.org. Psychology Today Therapist Directory, https://www.psychologytoday.com. Support groups. Look for local or online support groups for survivors of narcissistic abuse. Remember, you are not alone and help is available.